The evening moved faster than Emily expected, as if time itself wanted to rush toward something unavoidable, because it started as an ordinary night in their Vermont home with soft lamps glowing and the sound of wind brushing the lake outside. And Emily was folding warm laundry while Daniel sat quietly at the table, watching her with an expression she could not read, and before she could ask what was wrong, he spoke in a steady voice that carried too much weight for such a simple moment, saying there was something on his mind he had been afraid to share, something that had grown slowly over months of silence. And Emily smiled at first, thinking it was about work stress or finances, but the smile faded when he did not smile back, because his eyes were serious and distant, and he told her that he loved her deeply, that his love had not changed yet. He felt restless in a way he could not explain, as if a part of him was asking questions he never thought he would ask. And then, without drama or raised voice, he said the words that made her hand stop mid-fold, that he had wondered what it would feel like to watch her with another man. Not because he wanted to leave her, not because he was angry, but because something inside him was searching for understanding. And the room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the ticking clock, and Emily felt her chest tighten as confusion rushed in before pain, because she did not hear desire in his voice, only uncertainty. And she asked him to explain, her words coming out calm while her heart raced, and Daniel tried, speaking quickly now as if afraid he would lose courage, saying it was only a thought, that he had never acted on it, that he did not even know why it existed, only that hiding it felt worse than speaking it. And Emily listened as memories of their life together flashed through her mind, their wedding by the lake, late-night talks, shared dreams, and she wondered how such a question could fit into a love that once felt so safe. And though Daniel reached for her hand, she did not pull away or lean in, because she needed space to breathe. And she asked if he was unhappy with her, and he shook his head quickly, saying no, never that, saying she was everything familiar and steady in his life. And that answer hurt more than anger would have, 'cause it made the question feel less like a mistake and more like a crack forming quietly. And Emily felt a strange mix of fear and responsibility, as if she had been handed something fragile she did not ask to hold. And the conversation moved fast after that, words tumbling out, Daniel admitting he was afraid of losing closeness, afraid that routine had replaced wonder, afraid that silence had grown between them without either noticing. And Emily realizing that while she had felt distance too, she had never imagined this kind of distance. And when the talk finally slowed, nothing was resolved, only revealed. And later that night, as they lay in bed facing opposite directions, the house felt unfamiliar, not because anything physical had changed, but because the future no longer looked simple, and Emily stared into the dark, replaying every word, wondering if love was strong enough to survive questions like this, wondering if honesty was meant to heal or only expose wounds. And as sleep refused to come, she sensed that this moment was not just a confession, but a turning point, one that would force them to face who they were becoming, whether they wanted to or not. Days moved quickly after that night, yet every hour felt heavy for Emily, because Daniel's words followed her everywhere, echoing in her thoughts while she drove to work, while she listened to others share their problems, while she smiled and nodded as if nothing inside her had shifted, and she tried to act normal, but normal no longer existed. Because every quiet moment reminded her that the man she trusted most had revealed a side of himself she did not understand. And Daniel noticed the change too, not in anger but in the careful way she spoke, the way she paused before answering, and he tried to fix it by talking, by explaining himself again and again, saying he never meant to hurt her, saying it was only curiosity, only a feeling he did not choose. And Emily listened with patience even when her heart felt tired, because she loved him and wanted to believe that love was enough to hold them together. And at night they sat on the couch, close but not touching, sharing long silences that said more than words. And Emily began to question herself in ways she never had before, wondering if she had changed, if marriage had slowly made them predictable, if comfort had replaced passion without warning. And these thoughts scared her because they felt unfair and sudden. And one evening she took a long walk by the lake alone, the cold air clearing her mind as memories returned of how Daniel once looked at her like she was the center of his world, of how they dreamed loudly about the future. And she realized that what hurt most was not the idea he shared, but the fear that he no longer felt close to her in the way he once did. And when she returned home, Daniel suggested they talk to a counselor together. Not as a solution, but as a way to understand what was happening before it grew worse. And Emily agreed because she did not want silence to decide their fate. And as the days passed, their conversations became more honest, less defensive. Daniel admitting that he felt lost inside himself, that routine had made him feel invisible. And Emily admitting that she too felt lonely at times, even while sharing the same space. And these confessions did not fix everything, but they softened the tension, creating moments where they could look at each other without fear. Yet despite this progress, a quiet doubt lived in Emily's chest, because she wondered if understanding Daniel meant accepting something that did not belong in her heart. And she worried that love was slowly turning into responsibility. And responsibility alone could not carry a marriage. And one late night, as rain tapped against the windows, Emily realized that the real question was not about curiosity or imagination, but about whether they were still choosing each other freely or simply holding on because letting go felt too painful. And as she lay awake beside Daniel, listening to his steady breathing, she knew that part of her was standing at the edge of a truth she could no longer avoid, because love asked for honesty. But honesty also demanded courage, and she was not yet sure which one she had more of. The turning point arrived sooner than Emily expected, carried in the rush of travel and unfamiliar streets when she and Daniel went to Toronto for a professional conference, hoping a change of place might clear their minds. And during a casual networking dinner, Daniel unexpectedly ran into Michael Harris, an old college friend he had not seen in years. A man with an easy smile and a calm confidence that made conversation feel natural. And Emily noticed right away how different this interaction felt, because Michael asked thoughtful questions, listened carefully, and treated her presence as meaningful rather than polite. And while nothing about the evening crossed any line, something subtle shifted inside her, a quiet awareness of being seen in a way she had not felt for a long time. And Daniel noticed it too, not with anger, but with a strange mix of tension and curiosity, watching the way Emily laughed, the way her shoulders relaxed. And later that night in their hotel room, the silence between them felt charged, not hostile, but uncertain. And Daniel admitted that seeing her connect so easily made his thoughts feel real instead of imagined. And Emily felt a wave of emotion she struggled to name, because she had done nothing wrong, yet felt pulled into something she never agreed to. And over the next 2 days, Michael joined them for coffee and short walks between sessions, always respectful, always unaware of the deeper conflict his presence created. And Emily found herself enjoying the simple conversations about books, travel, and life choices, not because she wanted anything more, but because it reminded her of who she was before doubt entered her marriage. And this realization scared her, because it showed her that the problem was not attraction but distance. And one evening, Daniel confessed that Michael represented a real possibility, not a fantasy, and that frightened him as much as it excited his curiosity. And Emily stopped walking, standing under the city lights as traffic moved around them, and told Daniel clearly that she was not an idea or an experiment, that she was his wife. And while he nodded, she could see his struggle. And that night she lay awake, realizing she was standing between love and self-respect, between protecting her marriage and protecting her sense of self. And when they returned home, the house felt quieter than ever, because now the question had a face, a name, and a reality that could no longer be ignored. And Emily understood that whatever came next would require a choice, not just from Daniel, but from her too. a choice that would define what love meant to her moving forward. The final shift came quietly, not through argument or pressure, but through a calm evening when the house felt still and honest. And Emily asked Daniel to sit with her at the kitchen table, her voice steady, even though her heart carried weeks of weight. And she told him she had listened to every fear he shared and respected his honesty, but she also needed him to hear her truth without interruption. And Daniel nodded, sensing the seriousness in her tone, and Emily explained that she understood. Curiosity and confusion, that she knew people changed over time. Yet she could not become a solution to his uncertainty or a symbol of something he wanted to test, because love, to her, meant safety, choice, and dignity, and she said she wanted to be desired for who she was, not observed from a distance. And as her words filled the space between them, Daniel's composure slowly broke, tears forming as he admitted that he had been chasing a feeling he did not fully understand, mistaking fear of losing closeness for the need to create distance. And he confessed that what truly scared him was becoming invisible in his own marriage, losing the deep connection they once shared. And Emily reached across the table, not in agreement, but in compassion, and told him that intimacy could not grow from confusion, only from trust, and that if they were to move forward, it had to be together, without involving anyone else. And Daniel agreed, realizing that the idea he had shared was never the answer, only a sign that something inside him needed attention. And they decided to commit to counseling, to rebuild communication, and to face their changes with patience instead of fear. And over the following weeks, they began to speak more openly, sharing hopes and disappointments they had kept hidden, learning to listen again without defense, and slowly the tension eased, replaced by something quieter but stronger. And Emily realized that choosing love did not mean ignoring discomfort. It meant standing firm in her values while offering understanding. And one night, as they sat on the porch watching the lake reflect the moonlight, Daniel thanked her for her honesty, saying it saved him from making a mistake he could not undo. And Emily understood then that love was not about watching or being watched, but about being present, choosing each other every day, even when the path was unclear. And as they held hands in the silence, the future remained uncertain, but it felt real, grounded, and built on respect. And for the first time in a long while, Emily felt peace, not because everything was perfect, but because she had chosen herself without losing the man she loved.